Charmander is a Pokemon with a flame on its tail that shows the strength of its life force, but what would happen if we threw him into the past or future? Like I said in the last episode, this was a piece I wanted to make sure that it actually looked different than what we usually have for future forms. I tried to do so by making his arms a lot bigger than what they usually are, make him more top heavy, and I made sure to change the fire on the tip of its tail into an actual blade, which plays into the fire steel typing quite well. The rest of the piece was actually quite easy because once the pose was in, the most difficult part was over and we could actually focus on the minor details like the lines everywhere to make him look segmented, and then it was simply time for the colors. We didn't do anything drastically different, it's basically just a Charmander colors. That of course usually happens for future forms, but overall I'm really happy because it actually looks slightly different than an actual Charmander, and that makes it way more interesting to look at instead of just looking at a robotic Charmander. Iron Ember, the future form of Charmander. This Pokemon moves with rhythmic, dance-like steps that confuse opponents. Its tail glows like molten metal and is used as a blade during high-speed spinning attacks. I'm genuinely a fan of this design. Iron Ember looks incredibly cool. I especially love the little details like the lighted parts on the line art. I definitely think we're slowly getting back in the groove of making future forms because I think that it requires a little bit more skill than past forms. I would say that past forms really shine with the sketching part and making the body look different, whilst the future forms require good rendering in order to actually get sold as a future form, as a robot. Slowly but surely we're getting back to this. I love it though. Now onto the Charmeleon piece. It then didn't take me a lot of time to actually make the pose, which was basically a sort of breakdancing move, and it also plays into him being able to slash with its tail and have a unique battle style too. I also made sure to change up his body quite drastically, like he now has a middle part section, his body is more pointy, his arms are bigger, he's still kind of top heavy as well. So overall I don't really think it looks like Charmeleon too much, but that definitely gets brought back once we actually put in the colors. Now it does look like Charmeleon again, but different. I really try to push myself to make future forms different as well, because I think otherwise it's quite boring and repetitive, so I will definitely be pushing myself further and further on these future forms. Iron Cinder, the future form of Charmeleon. This Pokemon battles like a dancer, combining speed and precision. Its flaming tail hardens into a sharp blade, which it wields with elegant yet devastating strikes. Although I already know which piece comes next, if I didn't make the third piece as good as I did, this would 100% be my favorite drawing of all time. I genuinely like the pose, it looks energetic, it has a lot of movement, a lot of energy, and overall I think it's way cooler that it's actually slightly different from what Charmeleon looks like. I can only say that this piece looks good, but wait until you see the Charizard one. Let's go. I can already tell you that this was one of my most extreme pieces I've ever made. Like, I challenged myself big time on this one. We continued the unique posing for this piece and try to go for another kind of breakdance vibe. We have all seen those videos where a guy is breakdancing and he's spinning with his legs in the air, and that's the pose where what I went for. It was, however, quite difficult to get everything to fit the right perspective, and I know not everything does fit the right perspective, but I try to get it as close as I can right now, that it doesn't take me hours upon hours and I can just start another piece, because I don't want to get stuck on a piece for too long, right? At first I didn't want to bring his wings back into this design because I felt like they weren't necessary for this piece, but otherwise I found the piece to be too bland, so we did indeed bring them back, sort of. Now they're sort of like blades that he can use, which is cool as well. I did get some feedback while I was streaming that his head looked too small, so we upped the head size like four or five times and eventually settled on like a much stronger and less massive kind of look, because when you have a tiny head the Pokemon looks bigger, Now it actually looks like a proper third stage instead of a legendary, and I think that works way better than what we had before. I will however say that the rendering this piece took forever. Like, it had so many nooks and crannies that we had to put the line art in, the shading, all of those things took forever, and I think this piece took me like 4 hours to make, but it is probably one of my best pieces I've ever made, so I really hope you enjoy it. Iron Maul, the future form of Charizard. This Pokemon's body radiates intense heat and is reinforced with dense armor-like plating. In battle, it spins with overwhelming power, using its bladed tail to tear through opponents. Its fighting style is marked by fluid, high-speed movements that allow it to switch seamlessly between offense and evasion. Bro, like, holy damn. Iron Maul looks so freaking sick. And yes, the perspective is off. And yes, it isn't perfect. But holy damn, dog. This thing looks incredible. I genuinely think we've done Charizard justice with this piece. I also have to say that I went for the black shiny. And I know you guys are probably gonna hate me because we're giving the Charizard treatment to Charizard again. But come on, a black shiny for this dude. Look at that, man. That's incredible. But yeah, 10 out of 10 piece. And I know it can be improved upon, so it's not technically a 10. But overall, the design itself, 10 out of 10, and I hope you guys like it as well. And back to another piece I made over a year ago, and you can definitely see the difference in skill level. Right now I'm using the Photoshop method, which is adding on to an existing pose that already existed, and you can definitely tell that I was limited by my skill level, that I didn't want to make a new pose, so I had to work with what I had. I know for this piece that I wanted to make him look like a Dilophosaur, which is a dinosaur with a frill, at least in the Jurassic Park movies, and that's why my piece has the mane around its neck, the frill. It doesn't look perfect and it looks sort of goofy as well, but overall I do think the piece came together quite nicely. But if I had made it today, it would be changed way more than what we did for this piece. Scorching Scales, the past form of Charmander. We don't know much about this Pokemon since it seems to be very rare. We do have noticed that the ones we were able to research are very active and easily angered. This makes them near impossible to capture. Their flames can reach up to 800 degrees Celsius, but when stressed it becomes even hotter and starts glowing blue. I will just say that I like this piece, but it doesn't really do anything too much for me, and that's mainly because I'm comparing it to my current skill level. Then it just doesn't hold up. It's just a boring Charmander. It doesn't change that much, but still, overall I am happy with the design because I was way worse as an artist than I am right now, so I can't hate on it because it's still cool, but I would definitely improve it if I had a go at it again today. Now for Charmeleon, I didn't really do anything too different, but I did try a different method of sketching, which was to use the outlines of a Pokemon. It is called the silhouette method, and that's where you try to block out the shape of the Pokemon before you actually start working on the details to get a grip and feel of the entirety of your design, if it's balanced or if it's not. I must say that it didn't result in too much change anyways, but he does have a bigger forehead, bigger eyebrows, the mane is back, and he has spikes all around his body as well. But I must agree that this is still not as good as my recent pieces have been, and I really wish to start drawing past forms again, because I haven't done one in a while. Primal Flame, the past form of Charmeleon. This Pokemon seems to be a ruthless predator of an ancient world, rivaled by few and feared by many. Primal Flame is extremely powerful. Its skills and claws can reach up to 1000 degrees Celsius, which it uses to burn down its enemies. Yeah, the same thing about this piece as I said earlier. It is cool, but it isn't as cool as what it could be, right? Imagine if we changed the pose a little bit, imagine if we changed the proportions a bit. The neck frill isn't looking perfect again, but it is a unique and interesting feature at least. So 5.5 out of 10 maybe. I don't know. Now on to the past form of Charizard. This was a piece that was actually pretty cool in my opinion, even with the lack of skills I had back then. So what my thought process was behind this piece was to combine all the Megas and the Gigantamax form into one form. I did so by creating the spikes on its head to look like the other Mega and the flaming wings from the Gigantamax form, and I sprinkled in some of my own features of the previous two stages, and slowly but surely it actually came together into quite a cool looking freaking Pokemon. I don't think they would do it in this way for the original games. I think it's too over designed even for a Paradox Pokemon and would still work better as a Mega, but this was one of my favorite pieces I made back then, and I would say that it was probably one of my better ones I did. Well, we did of course not use our own pose, which is lacking. The end result is still really cool, and the shiny of this piece is incredible as well. Radiant Drake, the past form of Charizard. This Pokemon shares a lot of similarities with the Charizard we know. It does appear to have a lot of features which aren't present in the average Charizard, making us believe that Radiant Drake is related to a more superior form of Charizard. It is well known for its constantly blazing wings and its fear-inducing roar. While it can fly at impressive speeds, it prefers to capture its prey within its wings for the finishing attack. Although my rating of the first two Pokemon in this line weren't that high, this piece remains one of my favorite ones I made ever, purely because it looks so freaking cool and I like the way I combined the three different forms into one design, especially if you take a look at the shiny. It really does look like the other Mega form, so I might just be biased towards the Mega Charizard design in general because it isn't that different, but I think combining all those elements into one actually makes for a cool and unique design. I would just actually give this a 9 out of 10, purely because it could be more original.